To access the Fonts tab for Program Preferences, we need to first go into the Program Preferences. So I can click this icon here, this icon right here, or go to Tools and Preferences. And once inside the Preferences, click on the Fonts tab, and this will bring us to the Fonts Preferences. And inside of here, you have three different areas. You have Favorites, Enabled, and Disabled. And the enabled are all the fonts, the embroidery fonts that are available inside of your software program. So all of these are available, and you have the ability to make some of them your favorites, or even turn them off. If there's a font that you just don't like, you can select it and disable it. If there's a font that you use all the time, let's say that you use we'll go down the list, but we'll say that you use George a lot. You can come over here and click it on as a favorite, and it will show up over here, and this will show up at the top of the list for your fonts. If you turn one off, and I'll just show you this Fred, if I choose Fred and I turn it off, this will not show up in the list of available fonts. So let's take a look at this. George is a favorite, and we disabled Fred, so it should not show up in the list. We'll hit OK here, and we'll click on the text tool. And then if I hit the drop down in the properties, if I scroll up to the top, you'll notice George is the first one listed. So that is because I told it I want it to be a favorite. If I go and I look for that font Fred, it should not show up in this list. So you can see as I'm in those F's, I do not have Fred listed here because I disabled it. So let's go back to Program Preferences and go to the fonts, and I can just select this and click on Enable, and it will bring it back, and you'll see Fred right there. I can do the same thing. I can select George and put it to enabled, and it will put it back in alphabetical order here and not be listed up at the top. So you can put as many as you want as favorites. You can turn as many off as you want, and you can always go back and add them back in. It doesn't delete it if you disable it. It just makes it not show up in the view here. So that's a really neat feature, especially the favorites, that you can actually have those fonts you use the most show up at the top of the font drop down list. So that's the Fonts Program Preferences.